let's take a step back. 1MDB. It's been the bane of Goldman's existence for at least the past month and a half. Why is that? 2.7 billion drained from a $6.5 billion investment fund that Goldman itself helped set up for Malaysia back in 2012. What we have, and they've been limited in their discussions. Lloyd Blankfein and his successor, David Solomon, have, understandably, it's a live investigation. But what they have said is that, look, this is the work of some isolated bad guys, some isolated rogue employees who work to contradict and circumvent, the firm's controls.
But when I read your piece, you're actually suggesting that the CFO and perhaps the current CEO would have been aware of this deal. And does aware mean having signed off on it? And if they basically signed off on it, does this implicate them?
So it's a little more nuanced. I present that basically nothing happens at Goldman that's big without really important senior people actually signing off on this. Perfect example was this case. They had to raise $6.5 billion in 3 bond issuances. By doing so, they put billions of dollars of their own capital, presumably. And so we reported that CFO Stephen Scher had to sign off on allocating that capital. So really important people at Goldman looked at this deal and decided to still go ahead with it. Does that implicate them? I don't think so. I think basically it just means that the circle of responsibility is far wider than they would have you believe.
Does that mean that the problem for Goldman is much bigger in terms of financial liability?
The ultimate financial expense from this has been limited to potentially $5 billion, by Mike Mayo in a note yesterday. That's a lot. That's a lot of money. There's a big range. It could only be, low-digit billions. What we think is that essentially it looks bad. I mean, it looks bad if you have to say that everybody who's leading the firm today had at one point or another actually greenlit this deal, and the optics are terrible.
So what has Goldman said to you or to us about the idea that their higher-ups must have been knowledgeable about this?
In background, they do not deny it, but they just say that it is still the work of rogue employees, despite the fact that very important people on very senior committees actually approved all these deals. They're saying that they were still deceived by these people. So they basically, within their heads, hold those two facts at the same time, still say both are true, and yet that they're still a victim of rogue employees.
What do you think the biggest concern for shareholders is? Some kind of leadership turnover because of this? Some additional, something happens on the U.S. side? Because the Malaysian exposure itself is kind of a known to your point.
Well, it's when does it end? Mayo himself said this could be 12 to 18 months.